part of my job interview for this movie was to actually hike the mountain. I was flown out to northern Maine and had to hike Katahdin. And I also got to bushwhack and kind of explore where Donn Fendler actually gotten lost. And that was really good for me because I got to kind of get in his head a little bit.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, a young boy must fight to stay alive after an outing turns hazardous in director Andrew Boodhoo Kightlinger's family adventure, Lost on a Mountain in Maine. The film tells the inspiring true story of 12-year-old Donn Fendler, who becomes trapped on a treacherous mountain when a fast-moving storm separates him from his family. With no food or proper clothing, he begins a desperate fight for survival in the unforgiving wilderness of northern Maine. In addition to Lost on a Mountain in Maine, Kightlinger's other directorial credits include the feature films Tater Tot and Patton and Dust of War. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Kightlinger spoke with director Laurie Collyer about filming Lost on a Mountain in Maine. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
I get a weird charge out of standing lurking in the back and watching people wipe tears from their eyes. It's kind of screwed up, but
watching people watch, it's so fun.
It's great. There are people here that were part of the film. Can you all stand up quick?
Woohoo! Come on,
Stephanie.
Don't be shy.
Lauren, Tony, Charlene. Yeah, I love it. And of course, there's Paul Sparks, who played Mr. Fendler, sitting in the back being all coy. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Brilliant performance.
Awesome.
Thank you all for being a part of this.
Takes a village.
It does.
Andrew. So, wow. I kind of just want to talk to you about the hike, but here we are at the DGA. So we'll talk about the movie. But it is super up my street, as they say, this kind of movie. So thank you for making it.
Of course.
It's really beautiful. I can't imagine losing my kid on a mountain.
I can't relate to that yet, but maybe someday.
But why don't we just start with you talking about why you wanted to make this movie? And I know it's a movie you directed and didn't write, so there was probably a whole process of pitching on it. And do you want to talk a little bit about that and how it came to you and why it spoke to you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always really wanted to lose my child on a mountain, so I figured if I'm not going to do that in real life, I should just do it in a movie. No, it came to me through Stallone's company. They'd incubated it there. Okay. And they were incubated. I don't know why I use that word, but why not? He obviously makes movies about perseverance. He's kind of famous for it. Yes. And I'd never done one about a kid before. And so they, a writer named Luke Paradise wrote the script and came to me. And I don't know, I immediately sparked to it for a myriad of reasons. One of them was just the image of the boy barefoot in the woods. I grew up in Africa. I grew up in Madagascar, and I did a lot of that. I wasn't alone, lost, but that just sort of viscerally spoke to me. And then it also reminded me of the films that I first grew up watching, like E.T. and Stand By Me and, Homeward Bound, these kind of aspirational PG-rated live action movies that we don't really get anymore. So I saw an opportunity to make one and to make something that was hopeful and family oriented and could just bring people together. And
I love
just
that.
a simple task. Yeah. I felt like,
took you back to being a boy in the woods.
It did. Yeah. There's all that psychological stuff in there. And also I saw an opportunity to make something that was broadly appealing, but also still artful. And I think that's
beautiful film.
Fun.
Thank you. It just looks gorgeous. And like I said, just made me want to go hike a mountain.
Great.
So then you pitched on the job, you got the job. Congratulations. Talk about putting your team together. Maybe first start with how you work with the writer.
Yeah. So,
and this is your first feature.
It's my first bigger feature.
DGA feature.
Okay. Yeah. I've done two micro budget movies in South Dakota. kind of off grid.
Where he's also from South Dakota.
Also from South Dakota.
Madagascar and South Dakota.
It's all very improbable. And
so
it's
cool.
all a lie. I'm just from
Trinidad.
I'm from Jersey, actually. Yeah. Love Jersey, by the way, to all the Jersey folk. I know. That's why I said it. No. Well,
the writers start with
before I get into the writer thing, part of my job interview for this movie was to actually hike the mountain.
That's amazing.
So I was flown out to northern Maine and had to hike Katahdin. And I got my deal memo like 3 days later. And I also got to bushwhack and kind of explore where Donn Fendler actually gotten lost. And that was really good for me because I got to kind of get in his head a little bit. And we eventually ended up shooting on the mountain as well, but we can get to that. So with the writer, they hired me because I'm also a writer director. And I came in and I kind of just added, it already spoke to me enough. We had similar styles of writing. But I'm very much how much dialogue can I strip in the screenplay and keep the essence? So I went in and just gutted the dialogue. I'm like, if people are bored, that's their problem. Get off of TikTok, come watch my movie. And so I kind of just went in and gutted the dialogue and tried to get to the heart of what the movie was about. And to me, what the movie was about, and I could have never done what Luke did. Like he adapted the book, did the spine. Like I could never done that. So kudos to him. Like he was amazing.
And that book is iconic too.
It is.
I read about it.
It is. Yeah.
But that's a whole.
But what I kind of nailed down was that this is a movie about a boy who just wants a hug from his dad. That's what the film is.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we're working towards every second of the movie. And that's as we were rewriting scenes and kind of getting into it. And when you get into the maelstrom of production and you're having to cut this and do that because of budget, blah, 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 blah. That's the question I kept asking myself. I don't know for people who are on the crew the day of Tony, especially Tony's always there hacking away. I always reminded the crew because it was a hard shoot. We were sometimes up to our necks in water. We were, ticks. We were had to go climb down to get shots. And I'd always just remind them, this is a movie about a boy who wants a hug from his father. And I think that kind of set people up for, okay, that's why we're here. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we came at it from the writing perspective. And how there's this theme that strung us along. And then everything else came together.
Did you have your writer on set?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I was the writer on set. So I was, that was kind of my job. So if we needed to pivot, I had to go and do all those things really quickly. And then visually, I wanted it to look like those movies I grew up with in the 80s and the 90s, the kind of Amblin movies and other ones are like Empire of the Sun and The Black Stallion. Those movies look stunning. The cinematography is stunning in those. So I wanted this to look that way. Mm-hmm. So I found somebody, Edan Menon, who came in and just, we thought the same way. We loved the same movies. I told him I wanted to shoot with natural light as much as possible.
Awesome. Yeah. And
how can I make like a broadly appealing, again, Terrence Malick movie? How can we kind of teeter that line? But he also wanted it to feel Spielbergian. So we went in there and we just pumped fog into every single shot we possibly could. And exactly. We love the fog, and we would wait for the fog. Like, we got to wait the wind. I'm like, can we just go? He's like, no, got to wait. I'm glad I waited because the fog kind of gives this movie this almost kind of like Odyssean feel to it. Like this kind of mythical journey.
That's
to
true.
It.
Yeah, absolutely. Since you're talking about the fog, I want to ask you about the rain.
The rain.
Because, I wrote a movie that opens on a scene, a very rainy scene, and it was symbolic of this couple's plight. La la la. And we shot in Florida, and it wasn't the rainy season. So I was curious, as soon as the rain came, did you work with a rain machine? Did you wait for the rain? How did you? Because you needed rain,
we needed weather.
Clearly.
The lucky thing
come about?
The lucky thing about making this movie, because especially a wilderness movie that's mostly outdoors, is we lucked out on weather. Whenever we had bad weather, we created it. Line producers like, yep, thank God. And we created the bad weather events. So we had a rain machine. I hated using it, but we used it and it works really well. So hats off to the special effects team. And it's just a loud, clunky thing that makes a lot of noise. And in the mountaintop sequence, for example, is a combination of actual footage of us climbing that mountain with 60 pounds of equipment on us and getting real footage at the top of the mountain in bad weather, and then all very safely. And then also recreating our production design team, recreated the mountain on a soundstage, built an 80-foot by 80-foot replica of the peak with lichen that was exactly like the lichen on Katahdin. And we surrounded it with giant fans and sprinkler systems and fog, and just like pummeled those children for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, it's on the record now. No, they had a great time.
That's amazing. So that was how did you decide to build a mountaintop? How did that come about?
We wanted to lean as opposed to just wall to wall CGI. No, it was a conversation really early on, even in the interview process. I said I didn't want to rely on CG. I wanted to make a movie that felt practical and felt tactile, because I miss that type of filmmaking. And so I'd never done anything like that before. So I was kind of just like in the interview, like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out.
Is it going to look real?
Yeah. Part of directing is surrounding yourself with a great team.
Yeah.
If I don't know how to do anything, don't know anything about the VFX, well, the visual effects supervisor and the VFX team will. And the same with the DP and the production designer who I relied on. And they said, if you want to do this will look the best. If we build this and we do it practically, it's going to look better than if we put the kids in front of green screen. I already knew that was the right choice, but I'd never done it before. So I really relied on them, hired the best. And then, they just make you look good. And so that was always the goal. There's very little VFX in this movie. I think I can say that. There's still VFX in the movie, but it's very well done. So you don't notice it. The leeches, VFX.
So why don't you talk a little bit about directing a 12-year-old? Or maybe just start with casting and how that worked, and who your casting director was, and how you work with your casting director, and how you found the kid. It's a fascinating
perennial question. It's a fascinating question. It's my first time working with a casting director, and we worked with Richard Hicks, who was delightful and wonderful. And he auditioned 140 boys to play Donn. They narrowed it down to the top 20, and I gave them, my mandate to them was, I want Christian Bale from Empire of the Sun. That's the type of performance that we're looking for. And I especially wanted to find a kid who could sustain 10 minutes of movie without dialogue. And that would be compelling to watch and be charming and whatnot. And emotional, where you could just put the camera. There's that scene in the movie, that shot where it's just a close up of his face and he's illuminating, he's hallucinating, and he thinks his dad's car is there. Like, I don't like how many even adult actors can like do something like that and like really pull you. And I know you can, Paul, but that was incredible to me. And in the editing room, like, I can't cut away from this. Let's just hold. I'm surprised the producers let me keep it, to be honest, because it's a long time just like hold on a kid's face.
He's compelling.
But he's compelling.
Yeah.
So we found him pretty early on, and then the dominoes kind of fell from there. And then beyond that, then it was putting together a family that felt real and felt like they were a unit. And, the mom, Caitlin, was from Maine. So she was kind of an easy. She met Donn Fendler when she was in grade school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard it's part of the Maine curriculum.
It's a thing.
Every fourth grader in Maine reads that book.
Yeah, it's a thing. And it's pretty incredible to see it being embraced in the state, too, this movie now. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she was like all in right away. And then to find the dad, who needed somebody who just understood that. Well, actually, I'll just quote Paul. When I met with Paul for the role, Paul said this feels like a dad with an ancient dad from 1939 with a modern man that's screaming to get out. And I was like, that's exactly what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what he is. And so I know, this is the right guy for the part. And you came and you were wonderful with the kids, but when you were in character, it's like, ooh, watch out. But yeah. And so that's kind of how all those characters came, and all the children kind of came together. And then actually working with the kids. I always tell people the only time I was nervous on the shoot, actual nerves
with the kids,
was with the kids, but only once. And it wasn't even during the shoot. It was actually 3 days before, when the two brothers descended on into pre-production, and I did a little rehearsal with them, like, oh, let's just like, let me see
talk about that.
Yeah, let's see. Like we did the car wash scene, and we had like a sedan or something, and I got sponges, and they were just wild children. And I don't have kids, so I was like, whew. Oh my God. And they were not listening, and it was all over the place. And I went home that night and poured myself a little bourbon. I'm like, are we gonna be okay?
Am I going to have a movie?
Yeah, but the next morning I showed up, we did the work. Paul and Caitlin came in. They brought a kind of a parental and a paternal and maternal feel to the thing. And the kids said, oh, okay, now we got to get our A games on. And they did. The kids every day were consummate professionals.
I think that's a really good sign when the kids come to you and work with you and they're wild and crazy, because I've worked with kids who come to you and they're scared and self-conscious, and they've been told, their whole lives, like, you're not supposed to yell at people, you're not supposed to hit people. And then, in the script, there's always drama, right? This is drama.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good sign that they felt so free to be themselves around you.
I never thought of it that way. But
I think that's a really good sign.
But I do have an acting.
And you see it on the screen.
You do, and I have an acting coach who I do because I study it too, because I think it makes me a better director. But he's also in this movie. He plays the bearded park ranger, and he's been in almost every film I've ever made. And he was a professor of mine at BU, and his whole thing was, the director should somehow make themselves more vulnerable than the actor.
Yes.
And then the actor will feel open to play and to expose themselves emotionally.
Yes.
Yeah. And with the kids in the audition, especially when I was narrowing down on the right ones for the parts, I would do silly stuff like make fart jokes. Yes. And I think it just disarmed them. They're like, of course.
One of us.
Yeah. And if they laugh at my jokes, that also, boost my ego. I'm like, great, you're hired, No, I'm kidding, but no, I'm serious. But
we all have our egos.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how that all, but it all shaked out well. Luke especially was, I grew as a director working with him on this movie. And,
Great.
And you could see him becoming, like, he started off as the boy and eventually became the young man as we were shooting the movie.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty incredible. And even his acting, I think he would watch Paul, he'd watch Caitlin, and he would just see what they were doing. And eventually, especially during those tougher scenes at the end, he would be in a corner listening to Adagio for strings on his AirPods and just kind of sulking, like Daniel Day-Lewis or something, just completely into it. And it was pretty amazing. He'd snap out of it eventually, and then he'd have a good time.
And be a kid, right?
And be a kid, but he prepared. The actor prepares, he prepared, and he was always ready to go.
Good for him.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
What was his background, this guy, as far as like work?
Oh, the kid?
Yeah.
He'd been in
this wasn't his first movie.
This wasn't his first thing. He'd been in a couple Netflix, like Ryan Murphy shows and things. So he
got it.
He knew set life as well. He understood that whole thing. But it was like summer camp for him. He had a great time.
So you mentioned that you grew as a director working with him. One of my questions was going to be like, what did you learn on this show that, every show that we direct, every movie, every TV show, every whatever music video, I think as directors, I don't know if we grab a new skill per se, but there's always like a growth that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you wanted to talk about what especially because it's a bigger budget.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that fear.
The rain machine.
The rain machine. Am I going to be able to handle this thing?
Coming out of it.
Well, I always say that my first feature, I learned who not to work with, or that was a very important part of the process of collaborating on a movie. Yeah. It's a collaborative medium, and that's important. And then on this one, this is maybe a slightly self-serving answer.
It's okay.
But it's honest.
We're here for you.
Well, thank you. People who know me tend to know me as a fairly jovial, kind of like Tigger, sort of, from the Winnie the Pooh. And I know somebody else coined that, but I'm like, sure. And I have a good time when I'm making a movie, and I like to treat people well. To me, that's leadership, like treat people well. Then there's a delicate balance between being nice and wanting to be liked and being a boss and all that jazz. And like, like I don't yell at people and all that. But there was this fear going into something where you're leveling up. Like, am I going to have to be an asshole? Like, am I going to have to be a dick at some point, or just the whole time? That's not who I am. If I fake it, I'll just feel disingenuous. So I just kind of leaned into who I am as a person, and found at the end that you could actually treat the people, your collaborators that you're working with respect, and lift them up and say, hey, thanks for today. And still make a piece of art. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people think that art only comes from pain and suffering. I think that's not true.
I think we're debunking that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. So that was refreshing.
Century, I hope. Yeah.
So if anything, what I got is a confirmation that whatever methods I carry forward, I can keep carrying them forward. And I felt emboldened. Okay, now I can go make another movie. But I did learn, like, sometimes maybe I yielded too much. And so now I don't want to cite specific examples, but sometimes I did yield too much in service of being, sort of conciliatory or collaborative. And then maybe sometimes I should have fought harder for like little things here and there. But that's like you said, that's every movie, every director. I just read Edward Zwick's book, and he talks about that very thing. I'm like, okay, good. If he feels that way, I can feel that way,
Yeah, no, it's a balance that we have to strike all the way through. It's a lot of really smart, talented people with their own agendas. Yeah. Coming together. The key is that, everybody's making the same movie, obviously.
And keeping that in check is really important, so that so that the train doesn't go off the rails and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just read somewhere online, I have no idea where.
Careful when you just read
quote,
stuff online.
No, it was a quote. It was like, directing is more, I think it was an actor was talking about working with directors and how, it's Saoirse Ronan talking about The Outrun.
Love her.
She's being interviewed.
Great movie.
Now, I haven't seen it yet.
Great movie.
Yeah, I can't wait. But, and how some directors think that just commenting on a take is directing. And she's like, directing is not just saying what you thought of the take. So it's true. But I was wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about how you communicate with your actors and adults versus children, if there is a difference for you. Because I know just in talking to you for this little bit of time that you reference a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. And probably with a child that would just completely go over their head. Yeah. So anyway, talk a little bit about how you talk to your actors, and maybe even you could start in prep. Like, how did you engage with them in prep versus on set?
Well, I have an acting background, so I did improv comedy in college. You may not tell that now, but I can be funny. Anyway, so I kind of inherently understand what they're going through. That's probably the thing that turned me to directing, is what actors have to do is so terrifying. But I empathize with them. So I come at it from that angle first. And then I think what's so exhilarating about directing, one of my favorite parts of doing it, is that every actor is different.
Yes.
And children, that's one other thing. And with children, I kind of just became a child. Like, I was on the ground and we were in the water, and we kind of just, the scene where the kid's having a great time to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. It was just us and the camera all day bouncing around. I was just soaking wet the whole day. It was super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super fun. At the same time, you played
with the kids.
You played with them, but I also treated them like adults. But with, an example like Paul and Caitlin, who play the parents, have very kind of different methods.
Yes, I'm sure.
They have different methods. And so, if they tell me, hey, can you talk to me this way? I'm like, right, I'm not going to be offended by it. Sure. That's part of the learning process and part of the collaboration. Whereas Paul, I think, I don't know if he remembers this, but sometimes I just put my hand on his shoulder and he liked that. I think for me, that's like a way to connect with an actor to say, and we'd say something or something to go, sometimes I could tell Paul one word and he'd be like, okay, great, and do something else. I also think part of my job is to get out of their way. So if I like what I see, freedom, just let them do the thing. They're going to give me something different every time, but then they're going to give me options. So
sometimes they have to get there too.
They have to get there because every actor gets there on a different take. So it's all part of that. And in the prep process, this movie did not have any rehearsal, though on my next film, that's something that I'm going to desperately fight for, probably to no avail, but who knows, Yeah. But I always reread, I reread two specific books. I reread Sidney Lumet's,
Making Movies.
And then Judith Weston's Acting for Directors. And I reread them every single time I do a movie. And the Sidney book makes me like, I wish I had a month of rehearsal. I could go through the script.
I know. It's the old
We
days.
need to put those in the budgets. Let's work on that.
Good luck with that.
I know. So with that one, I just got to communicate, with the actors fleetingly, but we establish a kind of a tone and a friendship or, cordialness. And I send them everything that I've prepped. I'm a huge prepper, so I've got not in the, I don't have a tunnel under my house with guns and stuff.
You're a film prepper.
I'm a film
not
prepper.
A doomsday prepper.
But I have shot lists and, I do a very extensive shot list. I tend to hand draw the whole movie as well and storyboard it.
Awesome.
Very poorly.
That was another question.
But I do it very poor. They're stick figures. They're fun to look at, but they're, they don't really communicate much. I'm kidding. But then, and then I send them that stuff if they want it. I send them mood boards.
That's great.
Here's the color. I'll recommend movies if they so choose. Like this one, I recommended to some actors and some of the crew, like Walkabout, which is one of my favorite films.
Beautiful.
And this film especially, this movie did have more action in it at one point. And then in the production, prep process, you got to trim out the action. And so I thought,
because of the budget?
Yeah, because of the budget.
Yeah.
And so for this, I was like, now we're making Walkabout, which is like my number 3 favorite movie of all time. So I was happy with that. Number 3. I got a list.
I gotta hear what 1 and 2 are. What are 1 and 2?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Seventh Seal. And then Walkabout. Wow. And then it's Aliens. So it's a weird list. And then The Naked Gun. Anyway,
what?
Yeah, it's a weird list.
I love that. That is so eclectic.
So I'll send actors
so
that type of stuff.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah. And with Luke, I actually bought him. Sorry, I didn't do this for Paul, but I bought Luke like a collection of Criterion Collection Blu-rays and shipped it to his house in Atlanta. Said, watch these. And it was Walkabout and Empire of the Sun and a few other like DVDs that he needed to do his research. And he watched all of them and he referenced them as we were shooting. So he actually he's a strange one.
He's a pro.
His favorite movie is Elephant Man and his favorite actors are Anthony Hopkins and River Phoenix and James Dean. So he's got a he's
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You're lucky you found him.
Yeah, no, we are.
And it's a beautiful movie.
No, thank you.
And I wore my hiking boots.
I know. I didn't get the memo on that. I wish I would have.
So should we take a question?
Yeah, is there one question from the audience that we can take?
The time went so fast.
So yeah, you do. Yeah,
the question is about the integration of the documentary footage into the fiction film and that choice that you made. And
that was a post-production choice. Okay. And I think the question there was, what makes this movie special? Why should people care about this story? I think a lot of what happens in the movie is actually kind of almost Hollywood unbelievable, but then we cut to actual people telling you. And the way that I kind of came at it was they're chapter headings. I think chapter headings are pretty in vogue in movies now. And so that's kind of how I incorporated them. And I wanted them to feel almost they were like spiritual guides in the film. So that's why it's cropped 2-3-5 really in your face. Mm-hmm. And they're almost like spirits guiding us along in the movie, like spirits of the forest or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spirits of the past.
And I'm sure it'll be, I'm sure it's a wild swing, but another one of my favorites is Warren Beatty's Reds. And so that was and I was like, that if he does it, I can do it.
Yes, I don't want to
Why
play
not?
in your yard. I love that movie so much. Well,
this was a delight.
Yeah, I had more questions, but the time went so fast. It was really fun to talk to you.
This was
Andrew.
great. Yeah.
And thank you so much for making this beautiful movie.
Thank you for moderating. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.